Hey guys, it's Mr. Stark here. I want to talk about electrical symbols. Now, this is a commercial drawing print that is based out of the commercial wiring book that you have on your bookshelf. This particular floor plan is not the floor plan that I'm looking at in the building, but I wanted to at least make you recognize certain symbols. So for instance, this symbol would be the symbol for a receptacle, and it's telling us it's circuit 5. That's no different than walking down a hallway and looking at a receptacle and trying to figure out what circuit that goes back to and what panel board it goes back to. This particular receptacle actually shows you that it's coming from panel LPA and it's circuit 1. Not all receptacles are labeled. So we take a look around, and if we're going down this particular hallway, something I wanted to show you about exit lights. If you look at this exit light, it has an arrow facing the right that's letting you know which way the exit is. Not all exits have the arrows slashed out, so that tells you the direction that you're supposed to be going. It's important when apprentices install exit lights that they realize that you have to take the appropriate exit and put it in the right spot. And if it's already got the arrow etched in it, then you have to find one that is etched in the correct direction, or you take out the etching yourself. I'll show you that symbol on the blueprint next, as well as an occupancy sensor, which is right next to it in the tile adjacent. That keeps the lights on when it senses movement. So as we go down and check out where those symbols might be on a typical blueprint, we could see this symbol right here represents an exit sign, very similar to the one I just showed you. This denotes, with this particular symbol, that the exit is left to right or both directions, so you can see it from either direction. So keep in mind that that really makes you realize how the exit sign is supposed to face. If we look a little bit further into this print, we're going to see data symbols, which is your phone and data. You're also going to see smoke detectors and, of course, lighting. But what I want to show you in the next clip, if we took a look up here, we'd see a video camera. That might be on the blueprint labeled as CCTV, or closed circuit television. If we take another look on this print, we'll see a couple of symbols adjacent to each other. If you look right here, this F stands for a pull station for fire alarm, and this stands for a horn strobe. If we look directly on this wall, you will see that horn strobe, and you have to look for mounting heights on those as well. That would be in the specifications book. If we go a little bit further down the hallway, you'll also see, depending on the print, once again, we have an exit sign with the arrows facing in that direction, showing you where the closest exit is. We also have a monitor on the wall, and there's a receptacle that's behind that wall, and that would have been shown on the print at a certain height as well too. Let's take this a step further. Once again, I mentioned this in a previous video, the reflective ceiling plan would show exactly where these light fixtures are and how many pads are in between each light fixture. And as a general rule of thumb, it kind of helps contractors out for locating and measuring. Each fixture in the ceiling is 4 feet long, or each ceiling pad is 4 feet long by 2 feet wide. So if you were trying to measure something, you could simply count ceiling pads, take the amount of ceiling pads, multiply it times 4, or 2 if it's a 2 by 2 grid, and then you would have your measurement from one end of the hall to the other if you didn't feel like taking out your tape measure to make that measurement. So as we go on into making light of what symbols are what in electrical, we have to keep in mind that if we're looking on the electrical plan, most of the symbols that we see are electrical, and you have to be aware of where they are, and you've got to look for them in the legend. This was just a brief example of some of the typical ones that you'd see. There's one more that I want to show you that has to deal with the fire alarm. and also has to do with HVAC. So oftentimes you'll see these key switches, sometimes mounted in the ceiling pads and sometimes mounted on the wall where nobody could reach them. This is actually a test switch for a rooftop unit. And if you can't really see it, but it says RTU number 5 on it. Basically, if I turn that switch to the right, it'll turn off the rooftop unit, which is part of the fire alarm system. We call this fan shutdown. And fire marshals come in and they want to test that your fan shutdown works. And what they'll do is they'll test it by using the key switch. Usually that's on the print, it's located as KS for key switch, and it's probably more likely in the fire alarm or the mechanical drawings. That key switch turns off the rooftop unit, and that tests the fan shutdown. So in the case of a fire, the air handler units are shut down so that they don't recirculate air in the building and help feed the fire. So at some point during the job, you'll see these on the print and you have to locate these. These usually get wired directly to the duct smoke on the supply or the return of the heating and cooling rooftop unit. So that's another important symbol that you'll need to know, among many others that are typically found in a building. And then last and certainly not least, you have a card reader, and that will usually be written as CR for card reader, and sometimes it's put on random places in the power print. So keep a lookout for that too. That's it. See you at the next video.